Hey folks, we had a fantastic time Thursday evening during the last session in our workshop, a series of 3 parts that I presented for a mental performance workshop for athletes. Unfortunately, I did not record that session, completely slipped my mind to do that and to press the record button. But I wanted to come back and record the sessions in shorter chunks, if you will, so that I can start to post that as opposed to trying to get an hour and a half out of my schedule. It would be easier just to get 15 minutes somewhere out of my schedule sooner. Make a shorter section, take a shorter section, make the video, and then I'll start to post them subsequently. So today I want to start off with the first section where we will talk about the threshold of pain. It's a pity that I didn't record the session. We had some great discussions after the sessions. There were some great questions from the participants. But yeah, we'll do the best we can with what we have. And so let me share my screen. Let me share my screen. I'll give it a sec to make sure that you can see my screen indeed. But yeah, so like I said, this is part 3 of our mental performance workshop. I will talk about the first section in this video, which is your threshold of pain. So far, we've covered the whole process of where a thought starts until it becomes a feeling and until it becomes who you are, your behavior, your personality, and in fact, your identity. That was in the first section. We spent a whole hour on that. So go back to the first session if you missed that. That forms the basis of all 3 sections of this workshop. In the second workshop, we spoke about conquering your resistance to change, self-control and limiting beliefs, and mastering consciousness and attention. I've also shared some exercises that you can do to improve your consciousness and your attention, right? Because as an athlete, you need to be able to bring your mind back and focus on the task at hand. During this workshop, we will talk about going beyond your threshold of pain. What does that mean? Where is your state of optimal functioning? Identify with your winning self, right? Because a lot of people are disciplined in training, they're disciplined in everything they need to do, but the moment they get into that space of becoming a winner, a space of becoming confident, suddenly it's a scary place for them and they don't know how to deal with that. And then how do you apply everything? And I'm going to reference that throughout the workshop, and I have referenced it throughout the workshop. Really, it's all about you going back and apply these exercises that I'm teaching you and showing you during your day, every single day, during your week, during your month, until you master them. Many people think that you can just watch this video and it's a quick fix, just do this once and now you're like a winner and you're going to win a gold medal at the Olympic Games. It's not that easy. You have to practice it, and if you've listened to the first workshop, you will understand why, because you need to ingrain that neural pathway in your brain. All right, so today we're going to talk, like I said, about the threshold of pain. The Soviets believed that all great human achievement is all about overcoming the pleasure principle, right? Your mind is always going to either take you into one path or the other. It's going to take you towards pleasure and take you away from pain, right? So when you are lying in bed, nice and comfy, it's a cold, rainy morning, and you know you need to go and train, your mind's going to give you all sorts of reasons why you should not get up. That's keeping you away from the pain because you're thinking about, oh gosh, I need to get out, it's cold, maybe I'll have to run a little bit in the rain, I don't look forward to that. And it wants to take you towards pleasure, which is staying in bed in the place where you're comfortable. It's important to notice that the pleasure doesn't necessarily mean it's something positive, it doesn't necessarily mean it's something that is good for you. It can be anything like, it's something that you're familiar with, that you're comfortable with, something that is probably already part of your life. Like, let's say, for example, you lie too much in front of the TV, binge watching on Netflix. Now, pain never exists without a cause. It's always a symptom of something else. And we live in a century where a remedy is easy to find. And the Soviets believed that pain can be informative or developmental. So pain gives you information, or it actually can change you and create a better version of you. And I'm going to go through as to exactly how they saw this. Informative means, from an informative perspective, and when you have pain, it gives you information in terms of, you have a physical pain in your body, right? There's might be through injury, you might have twisted your ankle, you might actually broken a bone. That it gives you information that there is something wrong in your body physically. Then it can also give you a sign, it gives you information as to there might be mental stress. Let's say you have a headache. It can be a sign of mental stress. It can be like information it sends out to you to tell you you are experiencing stress. But here's the thing. When the Soviets created the academy, the institute, and they started working with these athletes in leading up to the Olympic Games in 1988, for them, they were not interested in what caused the pain, and they also were not interested in what was the remedy of the pain. For them, it was all about the process in between, because what do you do, which is also a right way of thinking, right? Because a lot of people today is stuck exactly because they don't know how to, what do they do with the information now? So if you experience pain, for the Soviets, it were all about, right, you have the pain, what do you do with it now? That is what was important to them. Now, displeasure can serve as a motivational factor, or it can actually, and it can be a catalyst for pain. Pleasure is conservative. If you go back, I think, I cannot remember first or second session, maybe it was the last session video. If you go back and watch, you will see the whole equation, right, really around how is change instigated. It's when the trigger, the response trigger is way bigger than the conservation, where you sit and where it is comfortable. It wants to, in general, by nature, our bodies want to preserve and keep us safe. That's its job. Your mind's job is to keep you safe. That is why if you need to do something uncomfortable and you are pushed out of your comfort zone for just a tiny little bit, your mind is going to start to speak to you, because its only job is to keep you safe and to preserve what feels comfortable to you and what feels right to you. It will always fixate you on trying to remain stable. From a physical and mental perspective, it's going to always try and keep the homeostasis in your body. It wants to keep you safe. And stable here, and same with pleasure, but stable here doesn't necessarily mean it is healthy. It is just whatever contentment means for you at that point or in that scenario in your life. Now, here's the problem with contentment. Contentment always leads to stagnation and passivity. So if you think about, like I am in CrossFit, so I can relate with the fact that if I'm in a workout and the voices starts to come and I feel I'm tired, right? I might not necessarily need to stop, but I feel I'm tired, I want to stop. Physically, literally, you're stopping, right? You are doing nothing in those few seconds. You think you're resting, but you're not moving forward. You actually just stopped, right? So that's sort of where the analogy comes from in terms of contentment leads to passivity and stagnation. It leads to a place where you just stop with whatever it is that you were doing, so that it kills the momentum completely. And in our current environment, you are being told and we are being educated that we need to avoid pain at all costs. Pain is being treated as something absolutely negative or even abnormal. If you have pain, there's something wrong with you. Now, even you hear it on television, maybe in educational places, whenever people speak with one another, you hear this a lot. When instant remedies are provided and even encouraged amongst people. I mean, I catch myself many times when somebody say, oh, I have this pain and this pain. I tell them, don't suffer. Go find something and drink something, because we've fallen into that mindset of how easy it is to fix pain. But when you are set in that mindset, you can very easily overlook the fact that pain can be a springboard for transformations. Pain can be a springboard for and a catalyst for absolute change in your life and in your performance. People with the most amazing journeys, if you go back and look at people who had all of these great transformations, they were often the people that had the most pain, that had to deal with the most pain to get to where they are now today. And pain was for them a catalyst for their transformational journey. And whether it's on in terms of performance on the field, in sports, or whether it's in terms of in their personal lives. If you look at how the Soviets brought up their children, their kids were allowed to run barefoot in the snow. That's just how they grew up. The kids were I almost say groomed, but how the kids were were taught, or they didn't worry about that, the parents now. The kids swam in ice cold lakes. That was nothing for them. And the kids were just brought up with I almost want to say a fear of not being afraid for almost anything. But if you even get something like that, but a positive fear, right? Like, I am not afraid of anything. They were brought up to be afraid of almost nothing. And overcoming obstacles was just a matter of course for them throughout the day. It is something you just need to get over with, and then you go on with your life. It wasn't this big hoo-ha and the whole world's coming to a standstill. It was part of everyday life to overcome an obstacle. That's how they brought up their children. And what you want to do as an athlete is you want to learn to use the pain as an ally. Now, understand that I'm talking about from a mental perspective, right? I'm not talking about a physical pain. But then again, you also need to know what to do if you are in a situation. You are already in that situation. You need to shoot the goal, and then you can worry about whether you need to go off or not. But you need to learn to use pain as your ally instead of the enemy, because change and growth mostly occur upon reaching and exceeding the threshold of pain. And if any one of you have ever heard about Wim Hof, go and I'll put a link to one of his videos in the description below, but go and have a look as what he has done to teach himself to overcome any discomfort and any pain whatsoever. He held several Guinness Books of World Records, being in icy cold water, being able to actually raise his own body temperature only through his thought and his mind, and activate hormones and things in his body, biochemical processes in his body, to keep him in a state of homeostasis where he needs to be. It's absolutely amazing. Our minds are so powerful. You hear a lot that they say, oh, our minds are like a computer, but it's the other way around. They build computers to be like our minds. So if a computer is smart and grand and fancy, can do all of these fantastic stuff, it's pretty much a good indication that your mind is capable of doing the exact same thing, because they're actually building the computer based on what our minds can do. So think about that for a moment. Take some time to think about that. That's powerful. So understanding your threshold of pain. So yeah, I'm just checking that my notes, that I stay on track. I have to have bullet points in order to stay on track. Otherwise I can go on forever. But understanding your threshold of pain is fairly easy, and most will be able to understand where that is. When you stick to something because it's comfortable, you will never be able to break that ceiling, right? It's Some of you that had to overcome something that you were fearful of in the beginning might have took that approach. Some might just jump off the cliff and go. Some people like that adrenaline rush, right? But some people took small baby steps and then they get comfortable, take another step, get comfortable, which is also fine. Every person can relate differently to change and to transformation. But one of the biggest things that hold peak performers back, or athletes in their performance back, is the fear of change, because they know they're going to have to push themselves out of that threshold, even if it's a little bit, but it's uncomfortable. Our bodies don't like that. And many people fear that change because they know it's going to be painful. They know it's not going to be nice, and people don't want to operate in that, I almost want to say, space of their life, because they just don't want to face it. It's exactly the same with our mental development and our mental functions like courage, patience, conflict, confidence. Every one of those have their own threshold. If you look at a baby that's just starting to walk, their confidence threshold is still a little bit on the low side, because they might lack the confidence to just to go for that first step, right? And to go for that first step. And they develop their confidence until they get to the point where they now feel confident enough to take that first step. We are all born with these mental functions. We are all born with them. It's in us already. You just need to develop it. I hear a lot of people that will say, yesterday again, I was at a business mastermind, and a lot of people will say, if I can just get the confidence to do this, or if I can just get the confidence to do that. No, 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 no. You have the confidence. You need to develop it. Here's the thing. You only develop these mental functions through action. And a lot of people don't want to hear that, because they think a mental function like that is just something you get and then you can go on, and then the whole world will open up for you. It doesn't work that way. You have to take the action for that mental function to develop. It's not something that you lost. You want to get it because you lost it type of thing. It doesn't work laser. It's not like a bunch of car keys. You have it already inside of you. That all you want to do is you want to develop it through action. So these mental functions each have their own threshold. So you want to know what the threshold is. You want to know what that top ceiling is, so that you can like really start to push through that ceiling and sort of start to kick against the door, right? So that you can break that door open if it doesn't feel to you like it wants to open by itself. Once you exceed those habitual limits of each of those mental functions, you can really achieve heightened levels of performance. It's just absolutely, you'll be astonished at what you can achieve if you can start to push through that ceiling of each of those mental functions. Now, let's practice a little exercise. So what I want you to do is, I'm going to take you through a little exercise so that you can understand how to determine your threshold. Because if you don't know where that threshold is, right, you would not know where to push and how to push to start to exceed those threshold limits. So I want you to think about a time where you had a competition or an event where you, for example, completely lost your patience. You can do this exercise with a different mental function where you completely lost your focus, where you completely lost whatever it is, completely lost confidence. It doesn't matter. You can pick anyone. And I want you to write down, don't just think these things, write it out. It's extremely important to write it out. And I want you to be specific about the event. Was it, at what point did you, like, let's say, lose your patience and got angry? Was it when the referee spoke to you? Was it when you guys actually lost the ball? Was it because a shot was not made? Was it because your teammates were not in their positions quick enough? Be specific. When exactly did you lose your temper, or did you lose your patience and maybe became angry? Whom did you speak to? Was it even before the event? Was it after the event or the competition or the game or whatever it is that you were involved in? Were you tired? How tired were you? Did you sleep the night before? How tired were you when you walked onto the field, when you started the match? How long into the match? Was it that you lost your temper or got angry or lost your patience? Like, let's say, was it 20 minutes? Was it towards the end of the game? All of those little things, I want you to go out and think about it and write it out. Now you have an idea. That's like a benchmark. Now you have an idea as to when that threshold is. If you even want better data, what you can do, and I encourage all the athletes that I work with, is that they write these things down. After every single match, reflect on how the match went. After every single training session, reflect on how the training session went, because then you have a good indication, especially when it's a very frequent mental function that you display that you don't like. Then it's very easy to sort of spot the trends. But you might discover, for example, that your threshold patience is limited, in terms of patience, is limited 15 minutes into the game. Because that's when you lose focus on concentration. Maybe you might find that the moment the ref speaks to you, and this can happen, the moment the referee speaks to you, it just triggers that lack of being patient, or just triggers that anger. So now you sort of know where that threshold is. And really what you want to do is you want to know how to apply it to your training. So let's say you lose your patience 15 minutes into the break. Then you want to work on the timings. You are aware 50 minutes in, you want to push that in your trainings, right, towards like, hold on for 25 minutes, hold on for 25 minutes, hold on for 30 minutes. That's really how easy it is to do this in terms of your mental function and how to push through that ceiling of your mental function. There are a bunch of other stuff that, especially when I work with athletes one-on-one, that I do with them to get to that point quicker. But this is a fairly easy, very good exercise that you can do to push that limit and to know where that limit is. If you know where it is, you can push through that, set smaller goals in terms of, let me just push through up and until 20 minutes and up and until 25 minutes, and push myself until I get to that point. Very good exercise if you do something like even something like CrossFit, where you have the opportunity to rest a lot in a workout, right? So let's say on myself, how I use it is, let's say I have 150 wall balls that I need to do. Obviously you know your physical limit as well, right? So let's say you know you can do 150 wall balls unbroken, but you are tired. So let's bring it down a little bit. Let's say you can do 50 wall balls unbroken. You know for sure you can do that. So now what you want to do is you want to make sure that whatever voices comes up in your head, you need to tell those voices, please go and sit in the corner. I know I got this. I know what I'm doing. I got this. And you just keep going until you get to that 50, because you know you can do the 50, or get to 51 for that matter. And then you can allow yourself a break. So that's, from a mental perspective, how you can push that. I almost want to say mental fatigue that creeps in, let's say at around 50 wall balls, that you can push that out further and further and further. Maybe next time you push it out to 60, maybe next time you push it out to 70. And of course, I understand there are strategy around breaks and stuff and things like that in your match, on match day, in your game. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about that first mental voice that you start to hear, that starts to speak to you, that's sort of starting to get you off track when you are in your match or on game day, whatever sports you are in. Check us out in the next video. I will continue with the next section of this session, of this last session, in the next video. I'll catch you there. Bye.